we're here, and you're going to do this. Well, your friends see this as a gift from you.
Oh, that's nice.
You know, and
Okay.
you know, because you're leaving us, and you're going to leave us with a lot of things. But I think the thing that we all want are the stories, and not just the stories from the different folk people that you knew, but the stories of your life and all the adventures that you had. So, I don't know. Tell me something from the beginning. You know, I know that there's some painful stuff, but you could start there too.
Okay. No. I'm. I've thought about it a lot. There were a lot of bad things that happened. I was an adopted child. There were a lot of bad things that happened in my childhood and adolescence that I have talked to other people about endlessly. But in this last story, I don't want to do that. I'll just make it simple. Things happened, things were done that made my life different from other people's. I, Sex was out of the question for me. I didn't understand it, but I knew it was true, and that made it difficult. But all those things just made me who I am. I wasn't. I could have been destroyed, but I wasn't. Instead, I just took a different route, and that route had to do with, in a lot of ways, moving my life so that I was paying attention to other things, not to myself. Some of that was good, some of it wasn't. I was trained as a child by my adoptive parents that, for instance, pride is a sin. That was my mother's voice. And right now we were just looking at a website that a friend has made of my poetry, which are being put out on a website which won't be finished until I'm dead, because I don't have that much longer to go, because I was taught pride was a sin. So therefore writing, if you're a writer and you think people are going to read what you write, that's sinful. So you don't put your stuff out where anyone can see it. That was a pretty bad thing to learn, but it didn't stop me from writing the poems. It didn't stop me from doing the things that fed the poems. And so what I always used to say was, I'm really good at making lemonade. Life has given me a lot of lemons, but I'm really good at lemonade. And that's true. I have found ways, and some of them have been, over the long run, when you look at them, maybe not so healthy. The other thing they taught me was, don't expect anything from anyone else unless you're doing something for them. And so when I got really sick, I did not expect people to come from near and far to take care of me. I honestly thought, well, I don't have a husband or a child. I don't have sisters or brothers. I don't have aunts or uncles or cousins. I don't have anybody. I honestly thought I was going to be alone facing this, and instead, it's nonstop. People coming in, and one group of goddaughters have taken over legal issues. Another group have taken over medical issues. It's rather astonishing how broad the network is, and how kind people are, and how willing they are to take time out of their schedules and put up with me talking endlessly, because one of the things I'm doing is talking endlessly.
I thank my lucky stars for the sparrow in the tree. I thank my lucky stars, she sings for you and me, for the blackbird and the thrush, briars in the bush. I thank
you make a choice in your life what to do. I made my choices based on what I considered moral and political decisions. I wanted to not be part of a system that I saw that was dangerous, negative, bad. So, yes, you can do little things that make it better for you, your family, hopefully for children and grandchildren, etc. But it's not a good idea to have the illusion that you're going to win any of these battles. The struggle against the imposed poverty, the endless wars, the weapons industry, the power, the fossil fuel industry, all of that is of a piece. They're all connected, and those battles will be incrementally won. So the story that we were talking about right before the machines went on was from Guatemala. We had a group of people, including a nurse with us, and we were doing very low-level clinics in tiny little villages, isolated villages. And in one of the things that happened was there had to be three-way translation. The people we were treating had no Spanish, certainly no English. The nurse had no Spanish and no social or whatever it was that week. So he asked a question. Malcolm translated the question into Spanish. I think it was Don Antonio translated the question into, I'll use social. And then it came back. And it was a long interview because of that. And what happened was the woman described her symptoms. It got to Joe. Joe told her she should probably cut down the fat in her diet. It was translated back. There was a conversation between Don Antonio and the woman. The woman had no fat in her diet. She had nothing in her diet, but basically tamales with nothing filling them. And some greens they could find in the fields that they could eat. There was no fat. And Joe, when he got that answer, started to cry. He teared up. He was a man who had been a medic in Vietnam during the war. And Joe turned to me and said, I don't know how to help these people. I need to go home and learn about starvation because that's what is causing her illness. And I don't know enough about it. What do I do? Tell her to eat more. There is no food here. So, later when we were talking to Don Antonio, he said, nobody can fix this. Nobody can solve the problems. All anyone can do is take their little granito of arroz and put it on the scale. All you can do in your lifetime is to add what little bit you can. You can't expect it all to be the answer. Later, years later, in conversation with people in Europe, we talked about the idea that the work we're doing, and there's all the activism is connected. All of the issues are connected, whether it's anti-war stuff or environmental issues or racism or class. They're all connected. And basically what the understanding was we're not in a sprint. Sometimes it feels like we're sprinting, like we have to get that law passed, we have to get that person elected, we have to get them to stop mining in this place. But the reality is, it is much longer than a sprint. You go on for so much longer. But it is not a marathon, because a marathon has an end, where you either get to the end or you don't. You could try again next year. It's a relay race. You never end. You just pass it on. And it's not passed on from person to person. It's from generation to generation. You can't have the illusion. If you have the illusion that you're going to win, you end up being depressed or devastated when you inevitably watch as we slide back. Just think what we're watching now. We've seen all this before. I went to a brilliant Zoom conference that some young Lakota women were running, and the focus was on the damage to the water that is happening in, like, right next to the Lakota reservations. Is the United States government has placed places where they're like factories where they're developing the nuclear materials into fuels, either for industry or weaponry. So there's that pollution going on, and they're storing waste there. And she had a great lineup of people talking. There were some elders, there were some scientists, there were some young people who were part of an activist group. And I had to leave. Someone called me and asked if I wanted to go for a walk. And I said, oh yes, please get me out of this house. Because 40 years ago, I was in Lakota country, and the very same things were talked about, and the very same people were present. There were young activists, there were elders, there were scientists. It was all the same. Nothing's changed. But what has not changed also is the activists are there. The young people are gaining strength. Somebody's listening to the scientists. May not be our governments, but other people are listening. So it was that lesson taught again, and it was devastating, to be honest, that it's the same thing over and over. We won Roe versus Wade.
Some people are paying attention to their artists and their storytellers. Now on TV, there's some, there's a lot more stories that are out there by by Native American directors than before. People are
Yes, that's a good thing.
Reclaiming their narrative.
That's a good thing, and there are a lot of good things like that, and that's true worldwide. One of the things that I stayed on Twitter for was I didn't want to lose my Africans or my South Asians, who are almost all youth. Like there's some scientists and older people, but the people I followed that I love the most are youth activists, and they're really invigorating. They're really exciting. That's still going on, but that's the Granito of rice. You don't quit because it's happening all over again. But it's not bad to every once in a while recognize that we have not been able to solve these problems, and that money has bought their way into reducing our power more and more. I don't know what to do about that, but thank goodness I'm not going to be here. So I don't have to worry too much about it.
I thank